JSE Telecoms index has returned 0.57%, almost 0.6% to investors year to date, with only Vodacom and Blue Label Telecoms delivering positive returns. Joining us in studio to talk telcos and the big three, MTN, Vodacom and Telkom, David Lerche, Telecoms Analyst at Avior. Where do you want to start?
Well, we've got Vodacom quarterly results coming out later this week, so that's probably a good place to start.
And also the news flow around Peter S. and his successor, etc., etc. So firstly, Peter S., what happened there? Was he pushed?
I don't believe so. The gentleman's been with Vodacom for many, many years. Certainly, while he was in charge, the group went from strength to strength and really performed very well. So I can see absolutely no reason for them to have pushed him out. I think he just decided he had had enough fun.
What a nice position to be in terms of a
enough
great
fun
legacy,
and enough share
fun,
options.
enough share options. Vodacom itself, the quarterly briefing, can we expect any changes? What about Shamil Yusuf, who's taking his place? Do we know anything about him?
Certainly we do. Remember, he was MD of the South African operation for Vodacom for many years. He's been running Vodafone Spain for the last 18 months or so. And what he will bring from Spain is a knowledge of how to succeed as a telecoms business in a mature market, in a market that is under quite a lot of price pressure, and in a market where handset subsidies, where the environment around handset subsidies is changing quite a bit.
Any concerns around Vodacom that you want to ask the expert about here in the studio this evening?
You know, it just relates to the fact that Vodacom's growth is stunted by Vodafone, and which markets they can go into, which markets they can't, etc. So do you see Vodacom's payout ratio in terms of dividends continuing to increase going forward?
You're going to struggle to increase it significantly beyond the sort of 100% that we just got.
But the fact is that Peter A. said...
How greedy are you?
No. It goes back to what Peter A. said on the show, I think it's 6 to 8 weeks ago, when he said, look, we actually need to take on more debt to get the return on equity figure right. So it's very likely that they would increase that
dividend payout ratio.
I think more what you're going to see is they will continue to pay out close to 100% of earnings, and you'll just see them adjust the shape of the balance sheet through greater capex.
MTN, I think let's move on, and the furore surrounding MTN, that's obviously been in the news flow. What are your thoughts? Firstly, are we over the worst? Has the reputational damage been come and gone? Where are we?
I think we've finished the beginning. There is still a lot more that is not known than what is known. And really at this point in time, as an investor, you have two concerns. One being that MTN itself is being sued in the States under US law, which in all likelihood I think will eventually, after some years, turn out to the Americans shouldn't have jurisdiction on that. The other side of it, of course, is that now the ex-ambassador from South Africa to Iran is being investigated, and from that angle that may create some other concerns for MTN. We'll have to wait and see.
At 144 Rand, what would you be advising people to do with it right now?
I would still say there's a little bit of value, obviously not as much as there was a couple of months ago. It's run quite hard over the last 6 to 8 weeks, but certainly there's still a little bit of value there. The market is still discounting the Middle Eastern operations quite deeply.
Well, they're discounting Iran quite deeply, and my question is, you know, South Africa is becoming a smaller and smaller portion of MTN. Nigeria's growing rapidly, and Iran, despite everything, all the bad news around it, is still continuing to grow. Egypt's continuing to grow. So is this not a good play on emerging markets looking 3 years forward?
I think it's a fantastic play, less on emerging markets and more on Africa, because really half of MTN's life is its Nigerian business. And where can you as an investor find a large cap stock with great liquidity, with the kind of exposure to Nigeria that MTN has? Any other exposure to Nigeria, if you're looking through some of the retailers, you got a very small portion is outside of South Africa. MTN, you have legitimate exposure into Africa, without, of course, having to invest on the Nigerian stock exchange.
So then what is your target price?
You jumped the gun. I was going to get there. We're just warming you up, and then you go in for the kill. That's what we do on the desk here.
No, because I'm curious to know. You said there's very little upside, so I need to know where his target price is.
My target price a year from now is somewhere 160, 165 Rand a share. Add to that an expectation of probably 9 Rand 50 of dividends. So yeah, you're probably looking just over 20%.
That's a 6% dividend yielder.
Well, you tell me what you're doing. Don't look at me as though I'm going to give you the answers.
I think it's a great play. I think if you're looking for capital growth plus the protection of dividends, which I think, given the state of the global economy, if you're a dividend grower and you have a decent dividend payout ratio, then your stock's going to be very attractive.
Well, we need to move on to Telkom before we run out of time, and an interesting discussion piece. Again, we've had recent news flow. We've got people defending their decisions taken. KT Corp, etc. Could that have been a game changer for Telkom?
Game changers may be a little bit strong. Certainly, I think it would have helped Telkom in doing or in executing their plan correctly, and sort of getting them to where they would like to be a little bit faster. At the same time, of course, shareholders were being asked to give up 20% of their stake in the company for the benefit of having KT's expertise. So I actually don't think it was a disaster for KT, for the KT deal to.
So you support the decision not to have gone through with the transaction?
I support the outcome.
Right. So diplomatic.
He's a politician.
You're a politician. I would have said you're speaking like an economist now. You're very careful to straddle that. Don't want to upset anybody. 18 Rand. Come on. 18 Rand on Telkom. It's got to be the buy of the century.
Yes, but remember, with great returns comes great risk. Your joy of Telkom is that the core fixed line business, that we make regular phone calls from the office on, that business is worth somewhere 40, 50 Rand a share, depending on how you look at it. The problem is their mobile business, ATA, is losing lots of money, and they're a very late entrant into a saturated market. There are two much larger competitors, and remember, even Cell C pretty much doesn't make a profit, and they've got somewhere around 14% market share. So for ATA to make a profit, we're going to have to wait some years, and exactly where the cash flows around that is your determinant of where the value in Telkom lies.
You're still speaking very diplomatically. So you're saying with increased risk, with increased reward comes increased risk. Are you saying that the risk outweighs the potential reward at this point on Telkom?
For me, no. For me, I think it is just crying to be bought. But this is not something for everyone. This is not like an MTN where you have a dividend being paid at all. MTN, Vodacom, great dividend payers, stable businesses. Telkom, much more binary situation where you're either going to win very nicely or you're going to lose some money. You're not going to float in the middle.